Am I saving enough to retire comfortably? That's the number one financial question many people are asking. And you may find yourself asking the same questions. Well, let's run some numbers for you to maybe give you some kind of idea of what you might need. Let's say, for example, you're 39 years old. Everybody's numbers are going to be different. This just shows you what we can do with this spreadsheet. Let's say you've been able to save up $65,000. Let's say that's pretty much what you make every year. So you've been able to save up 1 year's salary at age 39. When you look at all these financial channels, I recommend you have this at age 30 and you go, man, I'm way behind. I'm like 9 years behind. Well, let's say, for example, you can save $350 a month and you can actually increase that each year by 3% a year. What we're going to do is go ahead and run the numbers. And what we do on this channel, folks, is use the returns for the S&P 500 for the last 100 years, which includes the negative decades of the Depression type years, the 1930s. And obviously, it includes the decade of the 2000s, where we also had 4 down years. But how would the numbers work out running it for every single year for the last 100 years? Now, what we want to do is look at the average Social Security run. Again, we're kind of using averages here. Average Social Security amount is about $1,900 a month. Varies between $1,907 and $1,950 or so. But let's just say you're getting $1,900 from Social Security. Now, the big question you need to ask is, what kind of living expenses are you going to need in retirement? Well, you say that's impossible. So let's just use what you're currently doing. Let's say you're making the $65,000, which is about $5,200 a month. They say you're basically going to need about 80% of that when you reach retirement age. Again, we're kind of using averages here, but let's just say you need 4,500, which is a little bit more than 80% of that 5,500 or 5,200. But let's just go ahead and let's say it's 4,500 is what you need. Now, if you plan on retiring at age 67, that's 28 years away. So this 4,500 that you figure you need today, you're going to need about 10,296 if given a 3% inflation rate. So those are your expected expenses. Again, we're projecting ahead what you might need. Now this 1,900, that goes up every year by a COLA. This year the COLA is 2.5%. So over the next 28 years, that's going to grow what you get at age 67. And that's going to grow to 3,793 given a 2.5% Social Security inflation rate COLA. So here's our expenses looking forward. Again, we're just guesstimating here, but we just want to run some numbers for you. So in other words, you're going to need 10,296. You're going to get 3,793 if you take Social Security at age 67. So you're going to need $6,502 from your nest egg. Folks, what we've done is set this up to run it for every single year. I'm just going to show you a little bit. There's a whole kinds of numbers here. I'm just going to scroll through here. But what this is showing you, if you would have returns, for example, like in 1928, these are the returns you'll be looking forward to as you go through there. So these are all the calculations. The bottom line here is over the last 100 years, how many times in the worst case scenario would you run out of money given these numbers? Saving $350 a month. Folks, in the worst case scenario, you would not run out of money if you retired at age 67. That's the worst case scenario. Well, let's go ahead and change a couple of these numbers here. What if you could only change $300 a month? Still, you're not running out of money. And again, the worst case scenario is what we're looking at here, $250 a month. Still not. 200. Look at this, folks. What we're showing you, it doesn't take that much because you've already got this $65,000 working for you. And given the returns for the last 100 years, which are these returns right here, look where you would be just saving $150 a month. You would not be running out of money. The key point here is, when are you going to take Social Security? Let's go back to the $350 a month and let's start moving this up. Let's say you're going to retire at age 66. Still, no problem in the worst case scenario. 65, nope. 64, nope. 63, nope. 62. Finally, at age 62. Why? Because you're limiting your from age 39 to 62. That's only 23 years. So again, if you took the worst case scenario in the last 100 years, you would actually run out of money saving $350 a month, starting with 65,000. That's age 62. Let's do this. Show you the importance of getting it in there and starting. Let's go back to age 67, but let's say instead of being 39, let's say you're 43. Same numbers, going back through her, retire at age 67, worst case scenario, you know, you're in good shape. This shows you when you're running out of money and how long your money lasts in each of these cases. This is the worst case scenario in the last 100 years. This is the worst 5% in the last 100 years, the worst 10%, and so on. You get the idea. Here's the median going down through here. This you would have half the time you have this much, and half the time more than this, half the time you have less. Your money would not be running out. This is the highest. So we're going to go ahead and change this to age 66, age 65. Now we're starting to see if you're going to retire, if you're 43 and retiring in 22 years, if we had the worst case scenario in the last 100 years, your money would only be enough to last you 23 years. If you had the worst 5% in the last 100 years, your money would only last you 30 years. Obviously, if you're retiring at age 65 and your money lasts 30 years, you'd be 95 years old. So you'd be in good shape 95% of the time. How about if you go at age 64? See how these numbers are changing? It all depends on how long you have before you start taking Social Security, because that has less time for this Social Security to grow, but also has less time for the $65,000 to grow and this $350 a month to grow. So again, it depends on when you get started, how soon you can get the compound interest working for you, and what time or what year you want to plan on retiring, what age. 64 here you can see if we had the worst case scenario, the worst 15% of the time, your money would last you 32 years. Not bad. That's saving $350 a month. If you can only save $300 a month, it changes again. See how each of these changes depending on when you take Social Security, how long this 65,000 is allowed to accumulate. But folks, that's what we do in this channel. Everybody's situation is different. Your expected expenses, you got to look at what those are at currently, and you're probably going to maintain somewhat the same lifestyle once you retire as you're at right now. And you need to realize you don't need 100% of that, but you also need to plan on that expanding, growing by the inflation rate. So all this is calculated just by running these numbers, and you can see where you're at. Again, if you could save $400 a month, then your money's lasting longer. Again, if you go out at age 65, now your money's lasting 30 years, even in the worst case scenario. So if you could save $400 a month and add these numbers, and we're age 43, but you can notice how quickly things change and deteriorate. If you wait till age 47 and just have this kind of money saved, you can only save $400 a month, and you want to take Social Security at age 65. Look at how soon you're running out of money in these worst case scenarios. Again, we always like to look at the worst case scenario because nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Inevitably, you're going to have some down years. If we ever happen to have a down decade like this, that could really affect how soon your money runs out, especially when you start wanting to take Social Security earlier and you get a later start in saving. So again, we run all these numbers for people. But again, if you wanted to, could only save $400 a month and didn't get started until well, you got started, but you hadn't accumulated that much. Let's change this to 100,000. You'll see how these numbers change right here. You had 100,000 by age 47. That helped a lot, and you could save $500 a month. Still, you're taking Social Security kind of early for somebody that's 47 years old. Let's take it at 66. See how these numbers. Now if you look at that 1 year difference, folks, from 65, where you're running out of money. Again, this is the worst case scenario, the fifth worst 5%, and so on. But look at the difference just waiting 1 more year. Now you're in worst 5%. Your still money's lasting over 40 years. That's what we do in this channel. We run numbers for people. Again, it all depends on what your expected expenses are, how much you currently have saved, and especially when you plan on taking Social Security. Folks, that's what we do in this channel. We love running numbers for people. We love showing you different financial concepts like sequence of returns, risk, and so on. And we can go in more detail, but this is kind of a quick overview to kind of get some idea of where you might be. Again, we're trying to answer this question: am I saving enough to retire comfortably? Everybody has an individual financial situation, and everybody needs to run it differently. I will run numbers for you. You give me the kind of numbers that I need here, like the beginning balance, how much you can save monthly, what your expected Social Security is. You can go to the Social Security website and actually look at your benefit calculator, and it'll give you the amount. Even though you're only 47 years old, it'll give you your expected amount given what you're currently making. That's what we do on this channel. We love doing it. Please consider subscribing. Please share this channel with others. Let people know about this channel that we run numbers. We set up all kinds of spreadsheets. This is a more detailed one that we could use to set up changing your asset allocation, changing your COLAs, depending on whether the market's going up or down. But that's all kinds of stuff that we can do in this channel. But I just wanted to give you an overview that yes, we can help you answer this question, which everybody seems to want to know. We'll just plug in your numbers into the spreadsheets and run the numbers for you. Thanks so much for watching.